All right, so check this out. Donald Trump had yet another meltdown today as reporters confronted him over his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And you just got to see these clips I'm about to show you. They are wild. Now, look, Donald Trump continues to make this situation worse for himself as he comes up with these weird distractions like Obama did this, Kamala Harris did this. They need to be prosecuted. The American people are just seeing through those lies, and the story is not going away no matter how much Donald Trump wants it to. So let's just start with this clip. This is a press conference that he had with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and he was asked by a reporter, was he ever told that his name was in the Epstein files, kind of touching on the reporting we saw from the Wall Street Journal. And instead of engaging in the question, Donald Trump went on this long rant about Democrats faking the files or Democrats did this. It is super strange, and it looks like a guilty man talking. So have a look.
Mr. President, you have said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president.
I mean, okay, I apologize for cutting the clip short. I just can't listen to this guy talk. It's almost like he was going on a conspiracy theory speed run. Just throw as many buzzwords into an answer that he could. He brought up Russia. He brought up Joe Biden. He brought up Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, James Comey he hinted at in there as well. And all these different theories that he's come up with that, you know, the Democrats apparently faked the files, it's a hoax, and all of it is completely fabricated, even though he campaigned on releasing the documents. And Donald Trump's fatal error here is that there is simply no excuse for not releasing the documents. He says that the Democrats could have faked it. The Democrats faked the documents. Okay, then release them. Let the people decide. You know, you identify for us what you think is a hoax in the documents, but release them. And in my opinion, in my personal theory right now, as I'm seeing this evolve by the day, is that Donald Trump knows his name is in the files, obviously, but it's probably mentioned in a way that's not very flattering for Donald Trump. So I think it's eventually going to come out that, like, yeah, his name is almost certainly in the files, or not almost, it is certainly in the files. And he's going to acknowledge that and say something along the lines of, yeah, my name is in the files. And yes, I was named in a way that's not particularly great for me, but it's the Democrats who put me there. Now, of course, that's BS, but it seems like he's laying the groundwork for that eventual excuse for his name being in the Epstein files, because he can run, but he can't hide. These documents, the truth surrounding this case, will eventually come out whether Donald Trump wants to or not. So it seems like he's evolving his stance from, oh, the files don't exist. Okay, they exist, but the Democrats created them. Okay, my name is in the files, but the Democrats planted it there. And I wonder what the fourth stage of his excuse is going to be. Let's move on to the next clip. This one is genuinely one of the most outrageous videos I've seen of Donald Trump talking about his connections to Epstein. It's so gross. And I just want to hear your thoughts on it in the comments, so let me know. But let's just waste no more time. Let's dive in.
That was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did.
Hold on. Hold on. Timeout. I'm calling a timeout on the field. I've never had the privilege of going to Epstein Island. You know, if there were an island where horrific crimes were done by horrific people, I wouldn't call it a privilege to go to that island. What is he talking about? A privilege. It's almost like Donald Trump kind of lets things slip accidentally every once in a while, where he says something like this. He thinks at the time it might have been a privilege to go to Epstein's Island, and he just kind of accidentally inserted it in his answer here. Because again, any rational person who's looking at this Epstein topic, everything that he did, everything that Ghislaine did, nobody would call it a privilege to be involved in that. Nobody would call it a privilege to be at that island. It is so gross that he said that, and I genuinely think he just kind of let his real opinion slip there completely by accident. And I can imagine that his advisors were behind the scene kind of face palming as they heard Donald Trump say that, because they're just like, I cannot believe he's digging this hole deeper. Let's move on to the next one, where this clip is relevant to a statement that Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, put out today about a brief that they filed with the Supreme Court asking for an appeal, essentially for her sentence, her criminal charge to be vacated. A reporter asked Donald Trump, are you considering giving a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell? And once again, he said, I'm allowed to give her a pardon. This is why I and so many people believe that he is laying the groundwork to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, because instead of saying, no, I'm not considering a pardon for somebody who's done such horrific things, he's kind of leaving the door open a crack. Just take a look.
Different. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But maybe it's slightly different.
Mr. President, you didn't completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it. So,
like, what I'm struggling to understand what the hell is wrong with this guy. When I see an answer like that, where he doesn't just automatically rule out pardoning one of the worst criminals in modern American history, and he has connections to this person, your automatic thought must be that there's some weird connection between Donald Trump and her. Because Joe Biden, Barack Obama, any major Democrat that's been in office, Senate, presidency, whatever, would say, this is outrageous. There should absolutely not be any clemency, any pardon for someone who's done something so horrific. Donald Trump is taking another approach and kind of flirting with the idea, I'm allowed to do it. It's like, yeah, we know that you're allowed to do that. The power of the pardon is given to the president. But will you? He's not answering the will you. He's not answering, can you rule it out? And that's why this statement that Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer put out today about her brief to the Supreme Court is so important. They said, quote, David Oscar Marcus said, quote, no one is above the law, not even the Southern District of New York. Our government made a deal and it must honor it. The United States cannot promise immunity with one hand in Florida and prosecute with the other in New York. Trump built his legacy in part of being on the power of a deal, and he surely would agree that when the United States gives its word, it must stand by it. We are appealing not only to the Supreme Court, but to the president himself to recognize how profoundly unjust it is to scapegoat Ghislaine for Epstein's crimes, especially when the government promised she would not be prosecuted. So this argument that he's making is total BS. It's failed in every other lower court, aside from the Supreme Court, which it hasn't reached yet. It's total crap. It's just total crap. And it's also total crap because Ghislaine was an integral part of Epstein's crimes. She was very much there, and people forget that she engaged in intercourse with the kids as well. She was very much part of that. She wasn't just like on the sidelines, had no idea what was going on. She was part of it. And what's especially scary about this statement is that they're appealing directly to Trump. They're appealing directly to his ego, saying he's a deal maker. That's how he got his career. He's a deal maker. He strikes these deals, and he's the one that's going to put fairness into the system. They are playing into Donald Trump's ego, hoping for a pardon, and it almost seems like it's going to work, which makes me really terrified and also feel really gross to think about. So listen, a lot of stuff we covered in this video. I will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support in this channel. It means the absolute world to me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. We covered a lot, so I'm interested to hear what you have to say. But as always, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.